Hi guys, my name is Roger, and I'm building a mid-engine supercar in the basement of my home. Let's take a look at what I've been working on this week. Well, welcome back to the channel, guys. We're still working on the car here, and in last week's video we had started making the rear diffuser, which I am continuing to work on. Made a little bit of progress since the last video. We trimmed out the diffuser shape and made the ribs or the fins in last week's video, and I have slotted the diffuser to where all of these fins snap in place because of the angle in the back. There's a tab on the bottom and a tab in the back, and they snap in place and locate pretty securely. Actually, even without these spacer blocks, they flex, but they don't have any wiggle to them. They're really secure, and I'm going to get these ready to glue in place. I think everything is ready now. And I use these spacer blocks to lay out the location. I started in the center, measuring carefully to make sure that those first two were in the correct location, measured equal distances off of a center line, and then I started using these spacers in between them and clamped them up equally as I worked my way down to make sure that I maintained the correct spacing and everything was parallel. So when I glue these up, I'll put the adhesive on here and insert all of these spacer blocks like this and clamp from end to end with a clamp or even just some tape pulling across there just to hold everything perfectly square, so all of these fins glue perfectly parallel with each other. But this is looking good. I'm happy with the way it's looking. Give you another view here. Now there will be some final sanding and fitting once this is all glued up to get it to actually fit to the car. And you may notice I cut the notch out here for clearance for the rear end of the car. If I measured correctly, this will leave me just about 3/4 of an inch clearance, which should be good. There shouldn't be any flex on that rear end or this diffuser, so that should be plenty of clearance. But I wanted to start out with this opening, and if I need to open it up more in the future, I can. But I think we're good here. I hope so anyway. And also we were working on this part here. Get my gloves out of the way. And this is the part that the mold stuck to and made a disaster. I put a heavy coat of primer on this, block sanded it down, and skim coated some of the rougher areas with Bondo. I've started sanding the Bondo down, and actually about, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of this has been worked down and is very smooth and is almost completely finished. I still need to do all of this area up here on the top. I haven't even touched it yet. That's a couple of more hours sanding, and this should be ready for a final coat of primer. Now, I did not prime or Bondo or anything the gluing surface here where it glues to the other part or the rest of the rear end, because I wanted the adhesive to be bonded to the carbon fiber because it's made for carbon fiber, and I thought I would get a better attachment or better gluing with bond with carbon fiber to carbon fiber. So that's what we're going to do. And still need to work down in this pocket a little bit also. It's kind of rough down in there. I haven't even started down in there. That'll take some time. But that brings you up to speed with where I'm at. I think I'm going to go ahead and glue these fins in place. I'll sand just a little tiny surface where these fins touch the diffuser just to give it a little bit better bite to the surface. And then the tabs stick through. This is probably gonna make a noise. The tabs stick through on the back side, so I can actually put some adhesive on the back side also to help bond these in more securely. But I'll probably just do one side at a time. I'll probably glue these fins in place on the top side, and then when that's dry, come back and put some adhesive on the back side just to make them even more secure. That brings you guys up to speed. Let me go ahead and get these fins glued in place and see how they turn out. Okay, I have the fins gluing, and you can see how my wooden spacers are being used as a fixture to hold everything parallel. And I taped across the outside of the fins to pull some tension across it to hold everything in place. But this should make the fins glue in a perfect location, at least I'm hoping so. And there are glue on all of the fins, and I'll let this dry for, it takes 3 days to completely dry, but I think you can handle it after 24 hours. But anyway, I'll leave it at least one night. I may leave it 3 days sitting like this, but there's nothing else I can really do to this except glue the backside where the fins, the tabs on the fins, poke through the backside of the diffuser. I will apply some adhesive there also just to make sure that these bonds are as strong as they can be. But just wanted to show you this. I think I'm going to go back to sanding on this part. Have a little bit more free time today, so maybe I can get a little work done on this part, try to get it looking better. But let me get busy working on this and I'll check back with you guys later. Well, I am back from Chicago. My week there was fun and interesting. Got to experience some sub-zero temps for the first time in my life and was not happy with them. A little too cold for my taste. But I'm home. I came down in the basement this morning to work on the car, and the first thing on the agenda was to glue this side over here to the rear valence, and I have that clamped up and gluing. I just clamped it. So this will need to dry for 2 to 3 days to be completely dry. And in the meantime, while this is drying, I need to finish trimming out the light bucket for this side. And once it's trimmed out and fit, we can go ahead and glue it in place here also. And there's a few little things. I need to trim a little area here and back here, just some detail work. But while this is drying, the rear valence has been sitting here drying for a week, so it is completely dry. And I can go ahead and start working on these where these fins come through and were glued on the back side. I need to sand those down smooth, like this one here. I've already done one. There's a couple of rough spots here I need to clean up just so the parts mate together nice and clean. And then once both of these parts are finished, I can start marrying them up. The rear valence will bolt to the diffuser in the center and on the ends. I need to start working on getting all that aligned correctly and drilling some mounting holes, but that'll be a couple of days. But let me get busy. I need to get this light bucket trimmed out and fitting correctly, and go ahead and sand this diffuser and get it to where it mates up nice everywhere. I can be doing that while the glue is drying, and then I'll check back with you guys and see how things are going. Okay, the Basement Supercar Build channel has its first sponsor, and this is a great sponsor for this channel because of the type of parts that they make. And let's go ahead and take a look at this company, who they are, and some of the things they do, and then we will order a part. Okay, you can see here that we're going to order a part. The name of the company is JLC PCB. Here you can see some of the things that they do. They do PCB assembly, PCB design, 3D printing, and other things. We're going to be taking a look here at the 3D printing section. Now, under 3D printing, they actually do 3D printing like SLAs and SLS and FDM parts, and also do CNC machining of different materials like aluminum, copper, and plastic. Now, we're going to go ahead and go into this tab because we're going to have a part machined. Okay, the first thing we're going to do here is upload our model. Okay, here's a picture of the model, and we can enlarge this and take a closer look at it. This is the aluminum center console piece that I've been wanting to order. And we'll go back to the main page here. We have different materials to choose from: aluminum, plastic, copper, steel, stainless steel. Our part will be aluminum. There's different aluminum choices. We'll choose the 6061. We want a surface finish, bead blasting, and anodized. There's several different colors to choose from here. We're going to go with black. And there's matte and glossy. We want glossy black. And it gives you a quick estimate here, $181 to machine this part, which is incredibly cheap. I mean, this aluminum block itself is going to be probably close to $100 if I bought it myself. And it gives you a shipping estimate. There's also different build times, but the standard lead time in 6 days will be great for us. I'm gonna go ahead and submit this order. So you just saw me order the center console part online, and it should take about a week and a half to get the part. Okay, it's been a week and a half and our part came in today, and this is what it looks like. It's really nice. They actually sent me a picture of the part before they shipped it, and in the photo it looked like it was a kind of a gray color and not gloss at all. But I guess it was the flash that made the part look like that, because when the part came in, it is a gloss black. But the part looks really nice. Let me get this mounted in the car, and then we'll come back and take a closer look at it. I'll let you guys see it up close. Because of the complexity of this part, I wanted to show you the back side of it before I installed it. It is machined from both sides, and it's a fairly sophisticated part, so didn't want you to miss any of the detail on this. But you can see, this is where the parking brake switch would mount. This is where the gear shift lever boot mounts. There are undercuts here and here to snap the boot into. There's a couple of holes here for a wiring harness to go through, and then the two small holes here are for a logo to mount on the top side. The part's already getting dusty, but here's a top side up close. You can see some of the details of the machining. They did a really nice job on this. I'm very impressed. But let me get this installed in the car with all the trim pieces on it, and we'll take another look at it. Okay, I have this center console installed. This was quite a bit more work than I was expecting, but I had to drill some holes and run some wires through this carbon fiber tunnel. I didn't have any clearance holes for wires for the starter, which you can see it goes down and back up here, which will be behind the radio up in the dash part. And there'll be a few cables here running together that'll get loomed. And I had to do one here for the parking brakes switch down through the tunnel also, and there was no clearance for it. Let me see if I can get away from this a little bit farther. Maybe you can see this. Part of it's lit and part of it's kind of in a shadow, but you can see the push button start here was with the flip up cover over it. I'll replace this shifter boot and shifter knob because these are not the ones I'm going to use. The pattern's not correct, and I don't like the colors, and I don't like the chrome on this boot. So I'll make a new part for that snaps in and fits the shape of my aluminum part here. Make a leather boot, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to make the knob yet, but I'll do something. These two holes are for a logo. There'll be a Phoenix logo that I'll SLA and paint some color that I like, and it'll get glued down in those holes. And here's just a little area for change or something you want to lay here, and then the parking brake here. Brake on, brake release. That's the Corvette brake, so the pocket's pretty close to a Corvette pocket probably. And in here, the console part for storage, USB charging ports here on the front, and all that aligns and looks pretty nice. The radio front will come right down flush here and blend in. That'll just roll right into the face of the radio plate, and I think this looks really nice. I don't know if you can see the detail up close. There's some good lighting here, but that part turned out really clean. The CNC work looks nice. The anodized finish looks nice, and I am 100% happy with this. And I want to thank the company for sponsoring this week's video. Again, the company name was JLC PCB, and if you have any needs for 3D printed parts or CNC machined parts, look them up, go on the website, upload your parts, and get a quote. They'd be happy to help you out and make you a nice part just like this. Well, I finished the body work on the rear of the car, at least as much as I could see where the problems were, and I put the first coat of primer on it, and of course it shows several little bad spots or blemishes on here, but that's what I was expecting. This helps me see what is left of the body work. I'm not sure if I will do the remaining body work or let the body man who does the painting do it. I'll decide that later, but for now it's good. Take a look up close. You can see some blushing. You can see a little bit of area where the Bondo spots are, but I mean, once this is wet sanded, most of that will blend in. There are some little tiny pits in places. There's a couple up in here, so I mean there's blemishes all over it, but I think it's a good place to start. It shows me where all the blemishes are left that need to be repaired, and I can get an overall visual as to any low or high spots. And once we start working on these remaining little pieces and wet sanding, we should be able to work all of these out easy. Don't see any major areas of concern. Once I can get my body man that's going to be doing the painting over and take a look at everything, get his opinion, because I am not a body man and don't know a tremendous amount about it. So need someone experienced to take a look, just verify that I am about where I think I am, which I figure like I'm 80 or 90% of the way there to being ready to paint, but would like to get verification on that by an expert. But just wanted to show you this. This is still wet. I brought it in because they are roofing my house today, and they are making lots of debris flying everywhere, and I didn't want anything to accidentally get in on the primer while it was still wet. So we'll let this sit here till tomorrow and dry thoroughly, and then we'll come back and start mounting components on it, take a look and see how everything fits, and maybe even put it back on the car and get a nice picture. But I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that. I cut this yesterday as a template, and this goes between, it goes up in here, it goes between the diffuser and the rear end. This will be an aluminum insert. It'll obviously have air holes cut all in it, but I just needed to make sure that the perimeter shape fit. I put the rear diffuser, I bolted it onto this part yesterday, and it put the inserts in and checked that they fit in the holes correctly, and they do. So I need to finish the solid files on this, and those two pieces will be ready to laser cut. So I'll have 4 pieces ready to laser cut. I guess we'll go ahead and cut those 4. 2 of them are these for the left and right side, and then the other 2 are mounts to help mount the rear end of the car to the frame or chassis. So we'll get those cut as soon as possible and start working on those and getting this rear end put back on the car and take a look at it and see what it all looks like. Anyway, that brings you up to speed. I'll check back with you guys when there's more to show. And as we come around here to the back of the car, you can see that I've put all this back together to try to get a visual image of what it's going to look like. It is really low and really wide. The primer makes the part look much better. There's still a few places left to work in and get perfect. It's not perfect, but you can see I have both tail lights mounted, all the aluminum trim pieces, which will be black. The rear diffuser is mounted. I will get 2 more pieces to go in these holes here that look like this, that are aluminum with the holes for the air to come through. Once those are in, that'll plug up those 2 holes and make this look more finished. It's actually starting to look pretty good. I'll add a carbon fiber tube on the exhaust, so what's sticking out will be inside of a black carbon fiber tube instead of just a shiny aluminum, or that's actually stainless steel probably. But this is looking good. You can see how this aligns with the hatch here. Everything is pretty flush. There'll be this a little bit more trimming and fitting. It's a little bit wider here than anywhere else, but it's close. The height is correct. The distance is close. All of that's looking really nice. The lights fit good in the openings. There's just a little bit of clearance all the way around. Everything here is dusty. Everywhere I've rubbed my hands, I've got dust in this primer. The primer is just a little bit rough. So when you rub across it, the dust sticks to it. When we get down low like this, it really looks low to the ground and wide. It is as good as I had hoped for. There's still a little bit of trimming and fitting to do on the diffuser to make the edges blend in exactly like I want them, but they're close. So I guess the next step I'm going to do is get 2 of these panels cut out of aluminum and bent and drilled and installed in these 2 holes, and that will get us really close to finishing the rear of the car, probably to the point where I'm going to stop and move on to something else. But I need to get those panels in the works here in the next 2 or 3 days and get this rear end finished up. But I'm really happy with this. You guys give me your feedback. Let me know what you think. Does it look as good as you thought it would? Or are you excited as I am? Or are you disappointed with anything you see? If so, let me know what doesn't meet your expectations. I'd like to hear some feedback, just see if I'm on the right track or not. But me personally, I am liking what I'm seeing. And as soon as I get these 2 aluminum inserts made and installed, I guess the next thing I'm going to be doing is working on some quarter panels for the 2 sides, which is going to be an enormous mold. And I'm going to try to make a small mold out of foam. So Jay Jarvie on the Builder Creator YouTube channel told me I need to be using foam instead of the MDF to make my molds. It would cut down on my dust problem, which of course it will, and be much easier and cheaper to make molds. So I bought a sheet of this. I had to cut it to get it to fit in my hatch of my car, but I'm going to make a couple of small molds and test the process, gluing these together, cutting the foam, brushing it with a coat of epoxy, and sanding and working it down, and see how this goes. This is much cheaper than the MDF, and it's supposed to cut faster. If it works, finishes out as easy, and it works great for the molding process or the vacuum infusion process, then I'll be happy to switch over to the foam. But I'm going to make next for a pattern is I need some pieces to glue up underneath here and make a flange like this flange here, so I can bolt the quarter panel to the car when it's done. But I need a piece that starts here and goes over to the hatch on both sides. So that'll be the next mold I make, testing the processes to get this foam working correctly. And then once I feel comfortable with that, and I think I can make a large pattern or mold, then we'll be doing the quarter panels here. We'll start with one side and then the other side is just mirrored. And if we can get those 2 done, then we'll move on up to the area here between the A-pillar and B-pillar, the window area, from the top of the door up to the top of the car. And there's 2 of those, obviously the left and the right, but that's the next 4 molds we'll be working on. That'll be quite a bit of work, some enormous molds, a lot of finishing, and quite a bit of material and time to make those 4 parts. But once we get those 4 parts on, this car is going to start really taking shape. But anyway, that brings you guys up to speed. Hope you're as excited to see this as I am. And I guess that's going to be about it for this video, and I'll see you guys again in a few weeks.